Hello, folks. As you are all joining, I'm just going to wait 1 minute to let our guests get into this get into the space before I kick us off. So just going to wait another 30 seconds to let people get in. Okay, good. With that, I'm gonna get us started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the IFLA Academic and Research Library's Hot Topics webinar. Hot Topics is a program that ARL has been running for really more than a decade now. It's been one of my favorite programs while I've been involved with this committee. I love the focus it has on discussion and on learning from one another. It's really provided me an opportunity to meet IFLA members that I would not have met otherwise. But Hot Topics has always been an in-person program that we've done as part of the Global Information Conference. And this year, with no WLIC to host the program, the ARL committee had to give some thought to how we were going to host the program this year. We do love having that Hot Topics discussion and didn't want to miss out on the opportunity. And so we decided to take advantage of our own webinar program that we've also been running for a little while. And try to turn Hot Topics into a virtual program. So while we've been doing Hot Topics for more than a decade, this is our first time doing it in this new virtual format. I'm very excited to see how it works and see how things go. The hot topic we have for you today is Future Literacies, Libraries Leading Literacy Development in an Age of Global Transitions. Literacy in all its forms, from the very traditional reading to data literacy to information literacy, is a very widely discussed topic. It's certainly been a hot topic that I have been dealing with in the recent weeks and months. So I'm sure that you all have some experiences like that as well. I expect a lively conversation, and I also hope you all get to make some new connections and hear some new ideas as part of this program. The agenda for our program today very much mirrors our in-person Hot Topics format, with a couple of little twists for the virtual environment. So we're going to have 3 presenters, each of whom is allocated 8 minutes to present. After that, we're going to have the discussion portion of the program that will run 20 or 25 minutes, where we can debate and discuss the questions that our presenters raise, and the topic of literacies more broadly. This is a large group, so I'm sure we will have some lively conversations. And we're not going to try to break the group up into smaller groups or try to use breakout groups. We're going to try to have this be a large group discussion. So for that, I hope that through the Zoom platform, you should have access to both a chat feature and a Q&A feature. Hopefully you can use the chat feature to talk amongst yourselves, to make comments, to raise points. And then if you have questions for the speakers and questions that you'd like the speakers to discuss, you can put those into the Q&A. And as we get into the discussion section, I'm going to continue monitoring the chat. My colleague, Lorraine Harricombe, who was the main coordinator for this session, and I do want to thank her very much for all the great work she did making this session happen. She's going to be monitoring the Q&A and coordinating, bring those questions to the panelists. So with that, I'm going to raise, and I see that someone has their hand up. Jane, it looks like you have your hand up. If there's a question, can you put it if you put it in the chat? I am watching the chat. Okay, so with that, I'm going to move to our speakers and introduce our speakers. And I've Realized I think I have the pictures out of order, but we are going to, our first presenter today is going to be Sarah Kaddu. Sarah is the Dean of the East Africa School of Library and Information Science. She's going to be talking to us about technological literacy and specifically the integration of AI into LIS education in Uganda. Following Sarah, we will have Alicia Wise. Alicia is the executive director of the CLOCKSS archive. She's going to be looking at multiple literacies, but really examining the intersection of digital preservation and digital literacy, and really looking at a diversity and inclusion aspect on that intersection. It's an interesting presentation. And then we will have Lily Ko, head of research and learning support at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Lily is going to be talking to us about the Chinese University of Hong Kong's work in fostering digital literacy among its students. And I don't want us to, I want to make sure we have plenty of time for the discussion section. So with that, I'm just going to turn things over to Sarah and start the presentations. And for the audience, I'll say we've got an exciting new platform that has us moving speakers back and forth between on stage and off stage. So bear with us while we do these transfers. Hello, Sarah, and welcome. Looking forward to your presentation.
Hello, Mimi. Could you please maybe stop sharing your screen so that I'm able to share my screen?
I did.
Okay.
Hopefully.
You think so?
Yeah, it's
okay. Let me try once again.
there we go.
Okay, thank you so much, Mimi, for the kind words. Good day, everyone. My name is Sarah from Uganda, and I'm going to be speaking about AI in LIS education in Uganda, particularly looking at a response strategy. My presentation will touch the following, and I'm not going to go into the details. First of all, I would like to give an overview of LIS education in Uganda. LIS education in Uganda began with short courses, the certificates in specific, and then workshops, and then later LIS programs were established in the 20th century, where Makerere University, where I work, played a pioneering role. After that, we've seen developments of LIS programs in various, growth of LIS programs in various universities within the country. And these include public and private universities. The programs offered within these universities start from certificates, diplomas, to undergraduate programs such as the BLIS programs, then the BRAM programs, and then the postgraduate programs, including Masters of Science in Information Science, Master of Records and Archives Management, to a PhD in Information Science. And I'm happy to note that PhD in Information Science is only offered by one university, that is the East African School of Library and Information Science. What now is artificial intelligence? According to me, I look at artificial intelligence as machines with inbuilt intellectual or cognitive ability to be able to think, learn, reason, and so many other things they take into consideration. And examples include the robot, the generative AIs, Grammarly, to name but a few. I'll quickly take you to some of the AI tools and their functions. I just highlighted a few to remind ourselves and maybe to let those who have not heard about them take advantage of the tools that we have. We have the ChatGPT, which has become very famous in this era, especially in academic institutions. We have this Research Rabbit, mainly for citations. We have the Paper Poll for editing, plagiarism check, and etc. We have also the research assistant that is also very common, aiding the research writing, among others. Now, what is the potential of some of these tools in LIS education? I'm happy to note that AI can tailor educational content to individual students so that they are able to learn at their own pace 24/7. We have also some interactive tools that can create immersive learning environment. Secondly, AI can streamline the cataloging process, making it fast and accurate. Colleagues, you may notice that we no longer have to reinvent the wheel, but AI is there to provide with us the cataloging entry. Three, we have improved access to resources. AI can help manage and provide access to digital collections. And fourthly, AI can support research and development. We've seen AI tools assisting data collection, analysis, and even writing research papers. All you need to do is know which AI tool that is able to perform this role, and then take advantage of it. You just enter your data, and then to do the analysis, the collection, and then also giving you a report. Five, we can see that in developing curricula, AI is very useful, especially tapping into various curricula that can help us improve and on match with the current trends. There is also lifelong learning through the online courses and resources with the help of AI. Yes, we have those benefits, but they also come with some challenges. For instance, we have limited resources and funding, and this is a common issue for Africa. We also need to update our curricula to meet the ever-evolving information landscape, to take care of AI and the use of AI. We have also another challenge of insufficient and inadequate infrastructure and technological support. We also have limited use of digital tools and online resources. Colleagues, as you may be aware, those coming from the Africa continent, we don't have a lot of content that is local, and the content which is there is inadequate or limited. There's also lack of university-wide comprehensive training programs for staff on blended teaching methods. You may recall that in 2020, 2019, when COVID set in, we had to go blended or fully online, but we had serious issues with this as well. And we could not even leverage AI tools. And of course, resistance to change is common among us. So what is the call to action then? I'm calling upon colleagues on the continent to conduct a baseline survey to assess the current gaps. And if we assess the current gaps, let us think of upskilling and reskilling. How about our curricula as educators? We need to regularly revise and review curricula to reflect these technological developments. And some of us in management, we need to encourage our managers procure and distribute necessary hardware and software so that we can benefit from the AI tools. We also need to regularly acquire relevant digital and AI skills and competencies. And above all, we need to have AI use policy in place. So far as I present to you, I've not heard of any AI use policy in place. So this is also threatening the ethical, is also posing ethical concerns, and also we are not sure of the academic integrity that is available. In conclusion, therefore, I'm saying that AI provides several opportunities and challenges, as we've seen, and also the integration of AI in LIS education offers a path for growth, innovation, and empowerment across the continent. But what is the big question? Which new skills do we need? Do we need media skills? Do we need information literacy, digital data literacy? That is not for now. Maybe think about it. LIS training schools in Uganda can leverage AI to improve and support LIS education and research. I thank you for your participation and attention.
Thank you very much, Liz. That was excellent. Yes, I see a couple of applause coming up there. Very, very well done. And I will say you were right on time. I very much appreciate that. Um, I do see another, Helen now has your hand up. Helen, please, I'm in the chat. Drop me a note in the chat if there is something that you need. But we're gonna take questions through the Q&A after all three of our speakers present. So with that, I am gonna say thank you, Sarah, and we are going to
Right. Mimi, can you hear me? Because I can't hear you anymore.
Oh, I ended up being muted. Apologies.
Phew.
I
There
think
we
I
go.
got bumped. I got bumped off stage for a minute, and it resets your muting as part of the process. Thank you for that. Yes, I can hear you, and hopefully you can hear me now.
That's great. Should I go
Uh,
ahead and get started? This is such fancy software. I'm very
It's
impressed.
it's yes, we're still getting the hang of it. And I'm watching the chat. Oh, good. So several people said in the chat that the sound went out, but that it is back now, so that's good. And a number of congratulations to Sarah. And a couple of folks have introduced themselves in the chat, which I should have said that at the beginning, but folks should go ahead and feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat because I like seeing who is with us. But yes, Alicia, you should go ahead and get yourself started.
Okay, great. And I'm going to set a timer because Sarah was exemplary. Brilliant. Hi, everybody. Really good to be with you today. My name is Alicia, and I'm going to be presenting work that was done jointly with Del Hornbuckle at Howard University. And Del and I have terrific teams. We're really lucky. I particularly like to call out my colleague, Gali Halevi, who has really led the work that I'm talking about today. It would have been wonderful had she been able to present it herself. She's wonderful, but she's on holiday with her family this week and is unavailable. So you get me instead, and I will try to present her work effectively. It's very inspiring, I think. I hope you will feel the same. So this presentation is about empowering librarians now and in the future to enable literacy. And our perspective is really informed by the pandemic. During COVID, we were all in our homes, we were isolated, and this really positioned libraries at the heart of our access to information. They were the gateways to knowledge, to shared culture, and this got us thinking, if libraries, particularly academic and research libraries, are at the heart of access, long-term preservation of the content that is available through our services is critically important. And we need to be thoughtful, therefore, about what information is being preserved and made accessible now and also into the future. We found in taking a step back and looking at the contents of the CLOCKSS digital archive that although we aspire to do long-term preservation of content in all languages, from all countries, from all perspectives, in all subject areas, that we need to actually challenge ourselves to do a better job of preserving all of the world's heritage for long-term access through libraries. So access is important for literacy, and preservation is important for long-term access. The other thing that we've been thinking really critically about since the COVID pandemic is the critical importance of social justice and anti-racism, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And again, challenging ourselves to think whether there's more we need to do as an archive to ensure that different perspectives and different people's viewpoints are represented for the long term and remain available. So to give you a little taste of the analysis we've been doing, We first looked at the languages preserved in the CLOCKSS archive now, and we are a long-term archive for published content. And the big orange slice of this pie, those are resources in the English language. We have quite a lot of Italian resources. That's the sort of the dark wedge, and French and multilingual resources. A long tail of other languages, but this is a tiny fraction of the hundreds of languages that are important around the world now, and it's just the tip of the iceberg with older languages. So we recognized immediately that we had more to do to collect this material. We do a good job in all subject areas. We're relatively weak in engineering content, but otherwise that looks okay. The other thing that we really need to do is to work with publishers to acquire and preserve content published in more local languages in more parts of the world. And I list out some of the areas that we need to strengthen the collection in. And we've also taken a step to look at community perspectives. We would like to collect more materials that represent the Black and Hispanic culture and critical perspectives on our shared intellectual and cultural heritage. Same thing with Indigenous peoples and LGBTQI+ perspectives. So to take a first step here, we are partnering with Howard University, a premier historically Black university in the United States. And together we are putting in a grant proposal to develop training and education programs around digital preservation for librarians. Our main objectives are shown on the screen, but what we would do is a 3-phase program. First of all, to listen to and understand the needs and drivers for library-based digital preservation within historically Black colleges and universities in the US. Second, we would agree training and educational objectives that center on the unique needs of HBCU librarians and the heritage collections that they conserve and can make available. And then the third phase would be to develop a joint educational program that includes the curriculum tailored for the needs identified in the first phases of the project. We want to address the critical need for digital stewardship training and professional development that has been identified at Howard University and more broadly in the HBCU community. We want to align with the broader landscape of digital preservation training and good practice. And historically, we see this as part of our continuing program to learn and to develop our own diversity, equity, and inclusion journey at CLOCKSS. So we're taking active steps to decolonize our collection in ways that I've explained today, but we're also looking at the equity around economics. So we're revisiting, for example, the pricing through which libraries and publishers can participate in the archive. We have been inspired by a recent project that is concluded. It has been sponsored by Coalition S, which is a coalition of research funding bodies around the world. And by leveraging World Bank data on country level income and also purchasing price parity, they have made recommendations about ways that our membership and service fees can be made more equitable and more accessible in countries all around the world. So this is a work in progress as well. We want to include all perspectives and voices, all types of content, to make sure that our shared cultural and intellectual heritage and perspectives are available for future generations. And we want to enable libraries and publishers around the world to be able to participate and represent those views. So thank you very much, and look forward to talking to you later in the discussion.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alicia. Already I am very intrigued by the intersection between the challenges you're facing in preserving non-English language materials, and Sarah's comments about the challenges of accessing local materials in Africa. So I think there's some really interesting connections that we'll have opportunities for discussion later. Okay, so last but not least, and also Alicia was right on time, which is fantastic. Our last, but by no means our least presenter is going to be well, I'm sure she's on her way. I'm sure she's going to join us, but we're going to have Lily Coe. There we go. There's
Hello.
Lily.
Hello,
Uh,
everybody. Let me
and-
share my screen first.
Okay.
Okay, can you see my screen? Hello, everybody. My name is Lily Coe, and I'm the head of research and learning support from the Chinese University of Hong Kong Library. And my topic today is advancing literacy in the digital age, the role of the Chinese University of Hong Kong Library in global transitions. The abbreviation is the CUHK Library. So the digital literacy CHK Library is delegate to fostering digital literacy among students, recognizing its importance in a rapidly changing world. This graph summarizes the 4 areas we are focusing in the recent years. The first one is the digital scholarship. We built the Digital Scholarship Lab in 2017 with a delegate digital scholarship librarian and his team. From the photograph, we found that the Digital Scholarship Labs divide into the visualization room and the seminar room. Both rooms are free access within libraries' opening hours, and researchers and faculty members and postgraduate students can make reservations online for exclusive use. On top of that, we also organize researchers' workshops and digital scholarships and research data workshops to support students and researchers for the data literacy and also do the data analytics skills. The second area is makerspace. The makerspace is located in the learning garden, we call it. It's the lower ground floor of our library. This photo shows the environment of the learning garden. And in 2020, we built the makerspace. Some of the facilities here, this is the virtual reality cave. And then we have a 3D printer free of charge, and students can use them whenever they want because the learning garden is open 24 hours throughout the term. And we also have the charged up 3D printing and high performance 3D scanners service. And we collaborate, for example, with the School of Biomedical Medicines to scan the human anatomy and put it as the teaching material for students to use. The digital scholarship team and the makerspace teams organize the CHK data hacks. We have, this is the 3rd years, and the library led to organize this activities and co-organized with other academic departments, such as data science and policy studies, Department of Cultures and Religious Studies, etc. This year, 2024, the topic is data solutions for social good with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We pick up 4 goals here. Before the data had, the library and the organizing committee also organized some hackathon workshops to equip students to have the data analytics skills to go into the competition. Then in 2022, we partnered with the Independent Learning Center, which is one of the key partners of our libraries, to develop the online materials on global citizenships. We developed 3 modules. The first one is in intercultural communication, media and technology, global labor and employment. this project is a cross-institutional project. So 3 Hong Kong's universities in Hong Kong Baptist University, CHK, my university, and also the Education University of Hong Kong together collaborate with these projects and also organize competitions for students to participate. We also organize the research poster exhibitions with the graduate school and the Independent Learning Center. This is a platform that our research postgraduate students can create their poster and have the cross-disciplinary collaborations and to showcase their research skills. This is the workshops we prepare for them before they they participate in the research poster exhibitions. Then they can take these workshops to polish their skills and also to broaden their horizons. Finally, this year, as Sarah mentions in her presentations, the artificial intelligence is a very hot topic. So the library has developed the guidelines and best practices for using AI tools for research, teachings, and learning. The library also advocates for a larger role in enhancing students' research ethics and academic integrity by participating in the university's committees, and we also develop new workshops on AI literacy. In conclusions, 3 elements are very important: the leaderships, advocacy, and collaborations. These 3 elements demonstrate the library's commitments to leading literacy developments in a time of global change. And this is my presentations, and thank you very much for your listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lily. That was excellent. Very good. So that it completes the presentations from our speakers, and we are now going to move to our discussion section of our program. So Lorraine Harricombe, who I mentioned, has been one of the coordinators for this program for a while, is going to be joining us here on stage. And our other speakers will be joining us here on stage. I've already seen a lot of good discussion in the chat, lots of folks introducing themselves, which I love to see, and a couple of comments and discussion. So please do use the chat for any kind of comments or notes that you want to make. But also do use the Q&A button to give us questions that you would like the panelists to address. And Lorraine, I think you're going to start us off with some questions. Am I right there?
Yes. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Lorraine, and I'm at University of Texas here in the USA, where it is around 7:34 or so in the morning. First of all, let me thank all our speakers for your fantastic topics that you selected for this morning's session, and to all of you who have joined us from all over the globe to listen and learn, from their experiences as well. We are going to engage them in questions, and if you have questions, please put them in the chat and we will present them to the speakers until the top of the hour. So we have about 25 or so minutes left here, plenty of time to ask good questions. This year's hot topic had to do with all the different kinds of skills and expertise and leadership that the library as a profession and LIS as a profession have provided. And so I looked at our presenters this morning, and we have a librarian, a practicing librarian, we have an LIS educator, and we have an organization who supports what the work of the library, the mission of the library, as Alicia pointed out earlier. So I'm going to ask a question that cuts across just to get us started here, that has nothing to do with your specific presentation, but just share with us. I'm very interested in knowing where you think, what are the guardrails around the role of libraries? Lily, you mentioned several things, including collaboration with others around your campus. Sarah, you mentioned several things in terms of LIS education. And Alicia mentioned digital scholarship in particular as a key service in our profession. We cannot do everything. We would love to think we can do everything, but we cannot. And I just wondered what your perspectives are around scope creep and the mission of the library as we move forward, especially you know, with AI, with digital scholarship, with open scholarship, etc. What do you think are the core issues we should stay focused on as we move forward? We've always changed as a library, from Gutenberg to Google and now beyond. We've always changed. The rapid change in the last 5 years since the COVID has really accelerated the ways we needed to adjust. So I just wondered, in your view, what are some of the very key core things that we need to retain, you know, as a profession, so that we don't become everything and spread ourselves so thinly that we cannot focus on what the core mission is? What, in your view, remains the core of what LIS is? Anyone?
Maybe I go first.
Okay.
As a practicing librarian, our missions, my library's missions always preserve, disseminate knowledge, and also do the knowledge transfer. So as a practicing librarian, this is always, no matter what happened, a lot of technology change, etc. This is our missions, and especially when at the AI coming, actually the library I believe the library play a bigger role, because, for example, in the previous year, might be our academia or the students would think that the library is a supporting role. It's usually take the supporting role. But now, as the AI is coming, especially how to teach students, or even teaching staff how to use AI tools responsibly and ethically, it become a very big issues, and they usually come to the library, and then we can take this opportunity to take a bigger role, but our core mission is also will also remain the same. That is preserve and disseminating knowledge. That is my view.
Lily. That ties nicely with what Alicia said. I wonder if Alicia want to try next.
Thank you. Happy to do that. Thank you for the question too. So I'm not a librarian, I'm an archaeologist, but I've always been very impressed with the incredible thoughtfulness and expertise with which librarians gather collections that are tailored for the needs of their local community, and you guarantee access and quality assurance of those resources for the local. And now with digital, there's a huge opportunity to collaborate internationally, to build shared and collaborative collections, to look after long-term preservation through collaborative services. And that might be one of the guardrails. You can free yourself up to do more for your local community if libraries are very efficient and effective and smart about how they collaborate internationally. And IFLA is a brilliant organization for being able to facilitate those kinds of discussions. So I hope that answered the right question.
Thank you, Alicia. Sarah, do you have any comments?
Thank you so much, Rolene. I think that is a very good question, and I'm wondering how to approach it. Speaking from LIS educator perspective, I would say that we have to remain relevant. We have to remain relevant as educators, because if we are not relevant, then the graduates we are going to churn out will be rejected. And so how do we do this? We need to constantly upskill, revise the curricula that we teach so that we can take on all it requires to remain relevant. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Mimi, I'm going to call on you. I know you made a connection early on, and I know you have a burning question, so I'm going to give you a chance.
Well, I do, but I do want to, because I am watching the chat. There's a comment in the chat that I think is relevant to what Sarah was just saying. A comment from I apologize on my pronunciation, Elena Vela from Latvia, who notes how much more the librarians and the library staff are working directly with and for the researchers. Particularly, it calls out particularly doing things like systematic reviews, and how training on that kind of thing is something that you don't necessarily get much of in LIS education. So that call for continually upgrading LIS education, I think, echoes very much what Sarah was saying. So I think, that is something we're definitely seeing globally. And I will just add my comment on top of what other folks were saying, because certainly in my library, we think very broadly about what collections are. We are supporting access to, we are supporting and improving access to information writ large, and that means preservation of historic formats of materials, but it means managing and collecting data sets and managing data access plans. And it means, lately we're working with GIS, sort of supporting GIS. So your point about scope creep is well taken, and at the same time, I do think our mandate is broad, and being able to find that balance of being able to support that broad universe of information and continue to provide the education that you need to be able to do that is a true challenge for us. So with that, I want to try to pull at the thread that I hinted at earlier. Sarah, you talked about the challenges you have around finding and maintaining and bring and accessing quality local information, particularly on the African continent. Alicia, you talked about the fact that the preservation work that you're doing, it tends to have this sort of very much North American focus, so I would like to hear, Alicia, you talked a little bit about accessing content. What are the steps that we can take or should be taking, or the directions we should be looking to broaden the types of content that we are lifting up?
So I think convening librarians in regions of the world to have conversations about what local publications or research outputs are important for ensuring that they remain part of the long-term scholarly record. That is the way forward. It's to be guided by experts in different parts of the world. So we've traditionally mirrored the CLOCKSS archive in 12 universities around the world. Only one of those is in the Southern Hemisphere at the Australian National University. And we would really welcome partners, librarians in other regions in the Global South in particular, to talk with each other and with us and with other archivists as well about how we might help you come together to have those discussions about long-term preservation of the languages, subject materials, and perspectives that are important in your regions that you want to see available to people in 500 years' time or further along. We need to listen and be guided by you.
Thank you. Are there any questions in the chat, Mimi?
There's a question in the Q&A. There is a Q&A question. I think, Alicia, this is probably directed at you, but it's asking about CLOCKSS and policy regarding AI and LLMs using the materials that are available there.
So CLOCKSS is a dark archive, which means that as long as the publishers are providing access to the content, we don't provide any access. Where there is a safety net, if the publisher removes the material from the web or goes out of business. And in those cases, we provide access under an open access license that's freely available for people to use under Creative Commons license. So it's available for AIs or for other use. We're on the start of a journey about how we can use AI to manage the integrity of the collection that is still dark, that is not yet available. And I'd love to have advice from Sarah and Lily about how to get started. This is not something we've done very much of yet, but actually using AI to look into the archive, to assess again where we have collection gaps would be really powerful, but I don't know how to begin that. There are better experts on the webinar today for me to learn from.
Thank you, Alicia. There's a question here from Kenneth, who's asking about the recording of the presentation. We will make this available on the ARL website ultimately for all of you in due course. So we'll ask you to look at the IFLA ARL website for this recording. Sarah, I have a question for you. I'm going to put on my sunglasses so I can read. What advice would you give to institutions looking to integrate AI into their LIS programs?
Thank you so much, Rolene. I think there was even another question that came much earlier from Mimi. Maybe you can remind me that particular question in case I lose it. She was asking about what can we do to avail the local content. I think, in my opinion, we need, first of all, to raise awareness to our community, to tell the community whatever is available on AI is not bad as you think, so that we accept and adopt the content and make sure it's usable. And of course, we need to open up. In most cases, Africa lives in a closed continent, which is not so good for us. We need to be able to create the content, share it willingly, and then also be able to participate and acquire skills and benefit from other benefits available. Otherwise, you go onto AI, you ask for, I'm just giving an example, I've not tried this, that can I have research on works related to African scholars? And AI will give you feedback. I'm sorry, I don't have feedback at the moment. You see, because people are not providing this content, and so it will not be accessible. And always we are sharing and also labeling AI as bad all the time. Of course, we know the ethical concerns, but all this awareness raising we have to make, it's a campaign. We need to tell people, you do this, these are the outcomes, you know, you have to be cautious about ABC and et cetera and et cetera. Okay, the second question, Lorraine, I'm sorry, I had to bring up the other, was you asked, there is a question relating to how can I advise institutions are wishing to integrate AI in LIS education curricula.
Yes.
I'm thinking to begin with, they must carry out a survey. They must carry out a survey to see, okay, is this something that we have to adopt or not? If yes, how is it done somewhere else? What have they done? What is the existing content? How much can we go by this? What is the demand out there? What is the industry asking for? Because you may adopt or integrate, and then whatever you are doing is not relevant. So there will be a mismatch. So we need to speak to the needs, our needs in the first place. And of course, let them know there are enormous benefits. AI has a lot of potential to offer than the challenges. I thank you.
What I like to call positive disruption. There's negative disruption too, but I think there could be positive disruption too. If I may, I want to make the connection between Lily and Sarah here, because I'm thinking about my own practice. Sarah, to what extent do you work with your academic libraries where your schools are in Uganda to get pragmatic input and feedback from them in terms of how AI is being used, you know, to the extent that it is in the libraries as well? And then Lily, perhaps you can give us some ideas of how you are using AI as a practice in your library, if you are. So Sarah, the first question has to do with, to what extent do you collaborate with the academic libraries on your campuses where you have LIS programs?
Thank you so much, Lorraine, for that question. It's an interesting question. First of all, we are in the process. We have reviewed some of the curricula, and we are still reviewing because we have new ones coming on board. And what we do, we invite academic librarians from all over the country to come and give us input on the content we offer. So based on their advice, then we implement. That is one way. The second way is when we organize workshops. We can call them CPDs, continuous professional development trainings. We invite them and they speak to us, we speak to them, because we don't want to work in isolation of them. So we want to be as inclusive of our society or community as we can. And quite often we reach out, we have outreach sessions, we reach out and we get their feedback. Thank you, Lorraine.
Okay, somebody just commented, I think if I saw it correctly, there are different AI literacies in different jobs. So I wonder if Lily can give us some ideas and examples.
Our library, the first area, one of the important area to use AI is our collections. That is our digital collections. That is to respond to Alicia's questions. We are also finding the way. We're not the expert, but we are finding the way how to do that. And then because we have some Asian collections, might be also from Asian Chinese, a lot of photos, etc. Then one example is in the past, we have to manually to have a look of the photos and then index what that person is, or even that is a very famous actor. So we have to do that. But now we try to use AI and then use the to generate to recognize the image or generate what the image about, and at least not 100% accurate, but at least it helps us some of them. And another way is the literacy, that the workshops. We are developing the workshops for students and also for academic staff and also for our admin and general staff. And recently, we will do it this week. That is, we collaborate with our Human Resources Office and our university's computing technologies office, because we have very deep maybe discussions on what's the role the library should take. and what the role the computer office shall take, and then because for AI, most of people will think they should go to the engineering or the computer science. Then why library should that is some overlapping. So we care that we focus on because AI will have a bias, we have the currency issues or ethical issues, and also the copyright issues. We focus on that, and the computing office will focus on the tools itself, and tell us something. So the role is more key. So that is two main areas we focus on, and then we also thinking how to use AI to increase the efficiency of our colleagues. But not going to reduce the number of staff, but just to enhance the efficiency, and then have that can do something else.
Yes, indeed. I'm so happy to hear that is the case globally. I think libraries and librarians, given our mission, are very keyed into the ethics of AI in particular, and how we should be using it. So it's low talent, high touch kind of jobs that I think are key, but not to replace anybody. I believe in the human touch and the essence of that, especially in our profession. For too long, we've been focusing on just the collections, and we have made that switch, I think, to focus on users. And back to Sarah's point about relevancy, you know, it's the users that keep us relevant, right? Every generation brings us new expectations, and so we better listen to what they want from us. I do want to give our speakers a chance. If you have questions for each other, perhaps, this is a good time. We have about 2 minutes left if you want to, if you have questions for each other in terms of what you've heard so far.
And we do, I will just call out, we have a couple of questions. We have 2 questions in the chat and a couple of really interesting comments, or a couple of interesting comments in the chat and 2 questions in the Q&A. So we're going to be hard pressed to get to all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we should go to at least one more question in the chat. Mimi, can you read that?
Well, so the comment from the chat that I was looking at, there's a link out to a couple of interesting articles that I appreciate the reference. The comment that I was looking at was from Maret Hickford, who notes that you know, the question around source materials in AI. And I think this goes to you know, one of the standing and appropriate criticisms around AI is that is bias, and the built-in bias based on the training sets that the material is trained on. And the comment is how important it is to have to be accessing quality content from other parts of the world, to try to work through some of that, you know, sort of North American bias that you do see built into some of these tools. Then there's an interesting question in the Q&A, particularly for Alicia, but I honestly think this is something that hits all of us, is around the considerations for digitizing and preserving cultural and linguistic materials from diverse communities. You start to have some really interesting questions around indigenous materials, those kinds of things. Does anybody want to respond to that one in the couple?
I would briefly, just to say that, you know, this is such an important consideration, and one I'm certainly learning much more about. But my instinct working in preservation is that everything should be preserved, and that is good. And that's not always a shared perspective. There are objects that have cultural or religious significance that are meant to be hidden or private, that are meant to be experienced in a living context, that are not felt to be appropriate to capture in some way that can be transferred, that need to be interpreted before they're made available. And I think these are important perspectives to learn from, and they need to inform our collection, access, and preservation strategies. So this is something where dialogue is essential, and there's no single way forward.
Thank
Yeah, and I
you.
think that's, as we talk about multiple literacies, that kind of level of literacy, that cultural literacy and intercultural literacy for understanding how to apply some of these tools is clearly one that I think at LI we as librarians need to grow and develop.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm looking at the clock and we're right on the hour now. Please join me in thanking all of our presenters, Sarah, Lily, and Alicia, for being with us this morning and for hot topics for all of us and lots of food for thought. Thank you, Mimi, for chairing our committee and for all of you who have joined us for this past hour. Thank you so much and for your comments. We will make available the recording, as I mentioned earlier, so watch out for IFLA ARL's website. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you to our speakers.